Well, on this episode, we're having a slight change of plans. I was originally was going to do more on New Japan Pro Wrestling New Year's Golden Series, the latest tour, but unfortunately, it was not uploaded on the NJPAW on demand or Watch Pro Wrestling Live like I normally did. But it doesn't mean I cannot replace it with something else. So I decided to put in the finals of Ganbare Pro's Climax 2021, where we get to see who is the first ever Spirit of Ganbare World Openweight Champion. And of course, we cannot forget AEW Rampage with, of course, the TBS title on the line, Trent Beretta versus Nick Jackson, and much more. And of course, we have three matches set for 205 Live. One of them involves Bohdi Hayward representing Chase University, who also going to be in the Tag Team Classic, facing off against James Drake of the Grizzled Young Veterans, also involved in the Dusty Classics. And of course, I will be explaining one of the recent matches that took place in Actwres Girls with the return of Act Yasukawa, who we haven't seen for a long time since the shoot incident. As you know, she retired from in-ring work, but it doesn't mean she cannot do one-offs from then on. So, I believe it's time for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, let's begin, of course, reviewing, of course, a past event by Ganbare Pro for the Climax 2021 final round. This took place exactly on the 23rd of November. We get to see who will be crowned the first ever Spirit of Ganbare World Openweight Championship, which is going to be for the final round. But right now we have the first two matches, which is the semi-final rounds. First match we have uh, Juichiro Katsumura taking on Tatsuhito Takaiwa, and this match was pretty good. There was a lot of submission and technical wrestling on this particular match, but however, the one who feels more like she had the much better edge was Takaiwa because he's a much of a veteran wrestler, so he in particular won this particular match by submission. So he gets to go to the finals. Now the following match on this one relating to the semifinals, we have Yumehito Imanari taking on Tetsuhito Kuroda. Kuroda, I think that's his name. Hopefully I pronounced it right. Pretty good match, very hard hitting. This is one of those matches where, okay, who wants it more type. But in this particular match, it ended with Imanari winning by pinfall, allowing himself to win into the finals. So we'll get to the finals in a bit. So let's move on with other matches that they had. Next up, we have a six-man tag team match where it's more like intergender style. So we have Nobuhiro Shimatani, Yuri, and Yuna Manaze taking on Arukaze, Balinaki, and of course Moka Haruhi. Now, if you know this pretty well, there has been some tensions between, of course, Arukaze and Yuna in the past. But however, this was a pretty good. I like watching Balin and what he can do in the ring. But however, it was Mohi Hawiri who won the match by stomping onto Yuri. Yuri was the most likely candidate that was like the weakest link of the group that allowed her to pick up a very good victory with the 1, 2, 3, and that is all she wrote, folks. Next match, we have tag team action. We got Shinichiro Tominaga and Kisuke Ishii taking on Tyson Mayaguchi and, of course, the founder of Ganbare Pro, Ken Oka. Man, Ken Oka, he's one of my favorite wrestlers I love to watch because he is full on energy when he comes into the ring. But of course, Ishii always tries to stop him, but not this time. It was a pretty good match, but fortunately, Tominaga did not make it through because it was Ken Oka who picked up a very good victory by pinning him. Next match, we have Mizuki Watatase and Kuku uh, Koki Iwasaki taking on Shota and Soma Takoa. Now, this was a very interesting match, team up, because now it appears that both Shota and Takoa are now getting along. It seems we may have a much stable tag team group, and I'm kind of curious where they're going to go because the reason is Soma is no longer part of Damnation. I'll get to that story at some other time. So it was a pretty good match. I have to say, I seen Shoma and Takoa picking up this match was pretty good. I think it showed prominence. I would definitely see them. They could win tag team gold, but hopefully Gambari Pro can actually do more championships for this promotion. I think that's what we need for this one. But yeah, so Shoma and Takoa actually picked up a very good victory. Now our main event is the finals for the Gambari Climax 2021, and we'll see who will be crowned the first ever Spirit of Ganbare World Openweight Championship. We got Yumihito Imanari and Tatsuhito um, Takaiwa. I have to say, what a match! It was really good. I enjoyed, but it was the super similar to the Spear C4 that allowed him to win up off the corner turnbuckle, allowing him to win, and he became, and of course, Takaiwa became the first ever um, Spirit of Gambari World Openweight Champion, and I'm so excited for this, and I can't wait to see who will be challenging for for this title. So, what I thought about this thing with having a champion in Gambari Pro is pretty good. I feel they should make more championships for this promotion because there's only this one. But hopefully there'll be more times we'll see where they're gonna go with this. But as of right now, let's move on with AEW Rampage. Okay, AEW Rampage. Opening match, we have John Moxley return to the ring after 3 months. His first challenger is of coming back is none other than All Ego Ethan Page, who responded to the challenge to take on John Moxley, criticizing him, saying, "Hey, things have changed. You haven't been. I'm the one who's tearing up the whole thing." So we'll see how put up the test. However, there were those who are saying, does John Moxley have ring rust ever since he came back? Well, that is a very good question. But however, he did not miss a beat. And however, Ethan Page learned the hard way when Moxley applied the Bulldog chokehold on him that forced him to pass out when referee realized that he was done. And of course, during the post match, he tries to get in his face, but he ended up being in the paradigm shift. As soon as Moxley left the ring and gets to the entrance where he came in, lying wait for him was none other than, of course, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. So the real question is, will we see a feud between those two or a matchup down the line? That is something we definitely could expect. Now, Jurassic Express has a strong message to the Gun Club, specifically to Billy Gunn, after a vicious, heinous attack against Christian Cage, who are demanding a shot of the tag team gold. So basically, they think they act like they privileged. They deserve to have a title shot, but the Jurassic Express are more the kind of guys who are saying, what makes you deserving? We worked our butts off. So that kind of tells us the story. But they're going to line wait until Christian makes his return after being attacked. And we'll see what the Gun Club have to say about that. Now, our next match, we were originally supposed to have the reunion of both Roppongi 3 Vice between Rocky Romero and Trent Beretta, but unfortunately, Rocky Romero tested positive for the COVID 19. So this match was actually postponed until further notice, but it did change the dynamic to have both the to have a singles competition between these two teams. We have Trent Beretta going alone, being in the ring, but he did have Orange Cassidy by his side, taking on Nick Jackson, who has Matt Jackson, and of course, Associate Stooge, Brandon Cutler. I thought this match was pretty good, but the entire match played a very good psychological story where, of course, they aimed for the neck, which was where Trent Beretta actually had his surgery, but it did allow for Trent to keep pulling through no matter what until he finally pulled them up in that very interesting move that he does, and it was over right from there. And it was the biggest upset ever. So Trent Beretta walked away as the victor. Now we have Hook taking on Serpentico. On the other hand, you can guess people would say to Serpentico, Hook is gonna kill you, which obviously was true. Hook did not give him time to take a breather until he finally put him in that chokehold, but instead on the ground, Hook kind of like lift them up, the kind when you're trying to strangle someone or trying to hang them, that kind of worked. However, during the post match, he was interrupted by none other than his former teacher of the factory or part of the Nightmare Factory, QT Marshall. He gets in his face, but Hook put him in the uh, Northern Lights and left him right there and walk right over him. And that was a classic, like showing he's not going to listen to his crap. Now, you can say that QT had that coming, but the real question is, what is it that he wants with Hook? Does he think that he owes him for everything? No. Taz can tell you right from there, he doesn't own him squat. But we'll see what happens then. Now, our main event is the TBS Championship. We have the Queen Slayer, Anna Jay, along with Johnny Hungy, John Silver, versus the champion, Jade Cargill, along with her attorney, Smart Mark Sterling. I thought this match was pretty good. I think it was pretty well played out. But the best moment is when Johnny Hungy flexed his muscles right in front of Jade Cargill, allowing them to get in his face. But classic part was the Silver ducked down until Anna Jay got him in. I think this was a darker side that Anna Jay warned Jade Cargill that she see because she kept mentioning she put a barbed wire in her arm, making someone bleed and tap out. I think that kind of did. Even Sterling decided to get himself involved, and Johnny Huggy took care of his monkey ass. But it could have gone in Anna Jay's favor, but it was Jade Cargill that finally put her away by putting the Jaded, allowing herself to retain the title. But the real question does remain, who will be the one recipient that can actually dethrone her? That is a question that we will see down the line, but I think that's pretty much it. We will see what's going to take place on this coming Wednesdays on Dynamite, which we're excited. But I think right now we should go to 205 Live. Okay, so we got 205 Live. Opening match is Lash Legend, who has been making some impressive headways and really good matches, taking on Fallon Henley. Now, this was a very one of those matches I wasn't sure how it was going to play. Now I can picture Lash Legend win because she is seems like the one person that many people would like to see due to the fact not only being a heel, but someone who can actually pull off a very good victory. And then you got, of course, Fallon, who we've seen her on various occasions on being on NXT, but also down the line in other locations when she had a different name. But I wasn't sure, but Lash Legend was the one who most likely pulled up the victory when she tried to break Henley in half, allowing her to tap out. And she tried to tap out like this right in her face. Thought it was funny. Now, our next match, we have Draco Anthony taking on the debut of Javier Bernal. Now, as you know, debuts normally don't end, and there are times it ends with the the one who's making the debut lose. But Draco Anthony's one of those guys that has been there for quite some time, had various losses in the past. But even if he did pick up a victory, it would allow him. But he did pick up the victory when he applied a somewhat similar version of um, ra- uh, radio silence that Matt Cardona does, and it did allow him to pick up his very first victory in 205 Live in his WWE career. And finally, we get Bohdi Hayward of Chase University, being accompanied by Andre Chase, and of course, this is a preview to this coming Tuesday for the Dusty Classic. As you know, the Hayward and Chase will be taking on Grizzled Young Veterans. However, the Grizzled Young Veterans come out interrupting their little teachable moment. And as you know, this is the third time. If they do not win the Dusty Cup, they will get another opportunity. So James Drake will be the one taking on Bohdi Hayward. It seemed like a little bit of momentum was on Hayward's part, but however, you know the experience and the way things work with Grizzly veterans. Of course, Hayward tried to get in the face of Zach Gibson, but fortunately, it did cost him the title. So Hayward lost the match, giving the momentum right now to Grizzle Young Veterans. So we'll see how this thing will go this coming Tuesday. So we're gonna see Grizzle Young Veteran taking on Chase and Hayward in the Dusty Classic. So will they win or they will be out? So we'll see what happens. And it's time for the last thing I'm going to review is the tag match by At-Risk Girls. Now, it's very unusual for me to talk about one particular match, especially this one. Now, I was self aware in late 2021 where we had this particular match set. We have Act Yasukawa. Now, if you guys remember Act Yasukawa, she was one of the original leaders of Oda Tai, and Ruby Soho at the time when she was known as Heidi Loveless was part of that group. And of course, Ruby was there when she witnessed the shoot incident that took place in Stardom those years ago. Now, Act was forced to retire due to the fractured in her face because of what happened, but she did stay in Stardom as a manager for quite some time. But there have been times she has returned in the ring, maybe for some one-offs, and this is one of those matches. Now, I haven't seen much of Act as a wrestler, but seeing clips of her in her past that kind of explains it. But in this particular match, it was part of Act in Cork and Hall on the 13th of December, where she teams up with Sayuri Onoi, who I mentioned a lot in Oz Academy, taking on Natsuki and Natsumi Sumikawa. This is a pretty good match. Now, majority of the time of this match, it was Sayuri who actually was doing all the work. Now, to be honest with you, I questioned this a lot. How is Axe health due to her face? Because, if you've seen the videos, her face was really swollen, and that kind of tells us a little different because I did not expect it, but I think it did play it out pretty well. Not to see her get hurt, but however, it did that it ended with Act doing the um that similar move that Despy does, Dos, to Natsumi and forcing her to quit. And that kind of tells us. And I think this match was pretty good. Now, do I think we will see her down the line for another match in 2022? That all depends if that's the case. Um, Not much of her has been told what she's been doing, but it was great to see her do this match. And I'll do more research on her as a wrestler, and hopefully there'll be some good matches I may not have seen, but I'll give you guys my honest opinion about it. So I think that's pretty much it. So let's call it a day. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed me reviewing all of this. Like I said, the last one I reviewed was that tag match by Actwres Girls where we saw Act Yasukawa, who I haven't seen her for quite some time. But if we expect matches like this to review, most likely it will be. Right now, I'm still trying to wrap my head around why we haven't seen the New Japan stuff with the Golden New Year's Golden Series, but hopefully we'll get some of that cleared out. However, for the following episode, we will have a two review episode. We have, of course, Choco Pro 195, where we feature, of course, the Super Asia Interim Championship being on the line. Will this be the time where Masa Takanashi dethrones Chonshiro? Well, we'll see what that happens. But also, we got an empty arena coming up by NWA USA. I don't know if this was part of the protocols that they're having because of COVID. Well, we'll see where they're gonna go with that. Hopefully, we'll get some answers on that. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.